Flamenco dead giveaways.
Telltale signs.
Are you not sure what flamenco form you're listening to sometimes? It can definitely be hard to tell because flamenco is so resourceful harmonically. Like this B flat to A is found in so many forms, but the way that the phrases are conforming to the rhythm puts them squarely in one form or the other. But there are some flamenco riffs, I like to call them, some characteristic memorable little phrases that you might hear when you're listening to flamenco guitar. And I've got 6 dead giveaways that's going to tell you when you hear those little phrases what form you're listening to. And at the end, I've got a bonus 4 tips that are a little more vague, but they're going to help you discern what form you might be listening to. Now, I think it's really fun and edifying to be able to pick out and recognize certain parts and just little characteristic phrases from these flamenco forms and be able to tell right off the bat what it is. And as you're getting into flamenco guitar, it's definitely going to be a necessary skill for sure. Now, what I'm going to show you here in these first 6 little riffs, flamenco guitarists probably wouldn't call them riffs. They're not falsettas because the falsetta is going to encompass probably an entire flamenco measure, or a compás as they call it. For example, in Alegrías, we'd need a full 12 beats. You wouldn't have a falsetto, that's just part of that. But I'm just talking about little snippets that you will hear all the time, especially in traditional flamenco, and you're going to know just by hearing it what form it is. Now, I have this one recent video where I show you how to play this thing. And that's a phrase that fits into Soleá, but I've heard that in the fandangos and actually other forms as well. So that's an example of something that can trick you and trip you up and make you think you might be listening to a different form. We're going to stick to things that hopefully are only going to be found in the forms I'm talking about. The first one is so characteristic and familiar that you may have already guessed that I'm going to do it, and that is Tarantas, starting with this chord. A Tarantas is one of those free forms where there's technically not supposed to be any time signature, although all of those kind of do at one point or another go into a rhythmic section. But when you hear this chord, an F sharp, and there's another phrase too coming up right away, this F sharp 5 chord, we would call it in a rock context. It's the power chord on F sharp. Got the octave there, and the open G, that's what really makes it right off the bat, gives it a flat 9, and that gives it that Spanish sound, and then the open strings as well. And also this arrastre, did a video recently on that as well. So without any other information, whenever you hear this, it's almost always the very beginning. You know you're hearing Tarantas. But what's going to happen after that is the most Eddie Van Halen thing in all of flamenco. Where we have these constant hammer-ons and pull-offs. Going to go to a G after that and do the same kind of thing. But at that point, you absolutely know you're listening to Tarantas. Number 2 is the ending. Of course, you got to get all the way to the song before you know what it is. The end of Granadinas, another free form, goes like this. Okay, it's free form, so you might hear them do this a bunch of times. Also Van Halen-ish, right? And a big, fat, slow slide, so slow that we hear the frets in between. And then the octave right there. Granadinas has that Andalusian cadence, E minor, D, C, and landing on B. And so at the end there, you're very tempted and you really want to hear an E minor chord, but very seldom does that, and it just kind of leaves it right there, leaves you hanging. So Phrygian. The next one is a phrase that you'll hear in Bulerías, and only in Bulerías, but not always in a Bulerías. But if you ever hear this, you know that's what it is. Kind of a more modern thing to do. So we have this A chord with a flat 9. It really ends up being kind of a diminished chord if it weren't for that open A string. That pull off, almost always followed by a tap and an upstroke. And you know you're hearing Bulerías. Number 4 is the Alegrías Escobilla. When you hear this, you know it's an Alegrías. Now, Alegrías is happy, so it's in a major key, so that already gives us a huge clue. So Alegrías is in 12 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, traditional accents. But there's a certain part where it just starts to sound like a waltz. It goes 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now, there's a million variations. It doesn't have to be exactly what I'm doing, but it has this groove. Now, speaking of Alegrías, there is another telltale dead giveaway, but actually could be Alegrías or Soleá por Bulerías or SPB. When you hear this Alzapúa phrase, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hard to do without a capo on that thing, but check this out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So right at that spot, just before the 7th beat, whenever you hear basically but a little, 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 sounds almost kind of bluegrassy to me. If we did it in the key of C, Alegrías in C. So country. It's that extended 16th note phrase that's going to start just before the 7 and is so predictable. It's just like a spot where you can do all kinds of stuff. But when you hear that, but a little, 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 dum, chances are it's one of those two forms. If it sounds happy, it's Alegrías. And if it sounds more sinister, it's probably SPB. And number 6 is kind of a lesser known and more traditional one, definitely very Arabic, but when you hear this sound, we have the bass thump in here, 1, dun, 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 and that very Arabic harmonic minor, Phrygian dominant. You absolutely know you're listening to the Zambra. Hey, if you're just getting into stuff like this on nylon string guitar, check out my free workshop below. I'm going to show you the right way to play the 3 most essential techniques for the right hand. It's about 45 minutes long. Pour yourself a glass of sangria and check it out. Those are 6, what I think, dead giveaway, telltale flamenco riffs. I'm sure you can think of more. Let me know in the comments. But now let me give you 4 other tips to help you figure out what you're listening to. These might be a little bit less specific and less harmonic, but there's still some great tips. And I think the first one, it is not going to involve the guitar at all, and that's the Tangos Palmas. Tangos is one of those forms I always say is a little bit easier. I mean, it's not easy because of this crazy chord that when you're first getting into this kind of stuff, that one is very foreign and weird. But the rhythm, at least, is understandable enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, what can happen in tangos a lot is not playing anything on the first beat. Like we have a blank first beat, and you might tap there, 1, 2, 3, or don't do anything there. Now that can be tricky when you're listening to a backing track or some palmas. Go onto YouTube and look for Tangos backing track or Tangos palmas, and you'll hear this. Now, what's so hard about that is at the beginning, you're going to think that that's the one. I mean, the first thing that you hear, shouldn't that be the one? But that's actually the 2. So the first beat is blank, but you have to know that. And when you hear that in a song, and I haven't heard this, maybe it exists, in any other forms, of course, we're talking about 4 beats, so already we've excluded a lot of other forms. But if you're not sure, if I hear this B flat to A, and you think, oh, that might be Bulerías or something else, but when you hear this in the background, 1, 3, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, you know that that's tango. So it's going 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 3, 4, 1. In my mind, Farruca is kind of related to tangos only in that it's simple. So it's in 4 beats. If we're going to play an A minor, it's E7 to A minor. Now, this is an interesting language thing, but tangos has nothing to do with Argentine tango. But if you hear a flamenco form, especially listening to old stuff, that sounds like an Argentine tango, you're probably hearing Farruca. To me, that sounds like... Also, we have harmonically, to speak of something harmonic here, we have an E7, and this sounds like a major key. So at the very beginning, you might think, oh, we're going to resolve to a happy chord. You might not, be actually verbalizing that, but your brain knows what to expect. But instead of this, we have that. When you hear that, that's another clue that it's probably a traditional Farruca. That flat 6 over that 1 chord, lowercase 1, an F in this case over an A minor chord is definitely another clue. Sometimes you might hear it down here too, the C sharp I just played. Number 3 of my tips is if it sounds like a shuffle, it's probably Tientos. We have these chords from tangos. 1, 2, pretty straightforward. 1, 2, 3, 4. But if all of a sudden it sounds like blues, got that 1 and 2 and triplet vibe, probably Tientos. Number 4 of my tips is actually 2 things from Soleá. Soleá is really, I think, the greatest one, and I love that one so much. Slower tempo, so already you're probably going to know that it's Soleá when it's Soleá. But when you hear this on these low chords, now Now that was an entire compas worth, so I was saying these are just snippets. But whenever you hear this, dun, 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 that's probably what it is. But when you hear this also, that's a chord sequence that we really don't hear many other places. So we have F, in groups of 3, almost like that Alegrías Escobilla. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it sounds kind of happy for a second. And you'll hear in more modern stuff where they're playing around with these notes in the chord and open string. Or just one finger. That's definitely, especially when you hear that last part, gonna be Soleá. Now these are some general guidelines, and we're kind of talking about, you know, more traditional stuff. So especially in modern flamenco, almost everything is up for grabs. So at the beginning, we started with this Tarantas, but I've heard like Adam Del Monte do a Soleá. I think it was a Soleá, where all of a sudden he plays that Tarantas chord and does that, and then he's back to what we would expect in a Soleá. So that's very cool, very awesome. I'm such a great player. Now when it comes to modern stuff, here's a question for you that somebody out there hopefully will know the answer to. So when flamenco guitarists are coming through town, I always ask them this. Nobody has been able to tell me the answer. But when you hear this fleshy thumb thing, like this, that thing, but it's a more modern thing. Maybe it started in the 80s. Was Paco de Lucia the first one to do that? Something like this. It's a fleshy thumb preceded by a little hit here. That thing. I wish I knew. I don't know why. I'm so curious about that. Definitely a modern thing, and we can hear it in a bunch of different forms. That's not a form-specific thing, but let me know in the comments if you know who first did that. So I'm sure there's many more flamenco guitar dead giveaways where we can tell just by hearing a note or two what form we're in. If you can think of any more, definitely leave those in the comments. I'd like to know. And if you check out this next video, I'll be talking about these 2 chords and all the different things. Remember I said flamenco guitar is so resourceful? We're gonna talk about all the different forms that have just these 2 chords, and this is gonna be a great rhythm exercise for you and another tutorial in discerning one form from the next.